Governor, back here I have Bill Grunza from Duluth.
Hi, Governor. I'm the superintendent of the Duluth Public Schools, and I want to thank you for coming up to visit us. I also want to thank you for your focus on education in your current budget and for recognizing the struggle that Duluth and other school districts across the state have had. This coming year, our deficit that we're looking at is about $3.5 million. So your budget proposal does help us a little bit on that. Doesn't get us all the way, but I like the long-range view of your budget with education. I'd also ask that you support Representative Mariani's bill regarding integration funds, as those funds are necessary for us to address the effects of poverty, to close the achievement gap, and to raise the graduation rate of our most vulnerable students, and also to protect us from any further mandates that would put a burden on our already burdened budget.
We're trying to unmandate, and thank you for your dedication. Thank you for the work you do. We're going to, next session, I propose be an unsession, where a number of years ago when I got this idea, 7-Up had ads saying that they were the uncola, unlike Coke and Pepsi. So this would be the unsession, rather than adding mandates or anything else, we would take them away. And the legislature would spend their time looking at, what can we undo, what can we simplify, what can we reduce. And so I definitely want us to be going in that direction in terms of education. I hope that you and your counterparts around the state will do an active job of persuading your fellow citizens in Duluth what your financial situation is and why. I mean, some people believe, we're spending all this extra money, and some of the comments that are made here, and what difference does it make? When the facts say otherwise, but most people aren't aware of that situation. So if you can underscore not just, not only the 3.5 million, but also how it got there, and where your money does come from, and what you need, and for what reasons, then that will, that happens statewide, it would really help the process down in St. Paul.
We've got Nancy from Duluth, and then just a reminder, we have time for just like, okay, so a few lots more questions now.
Hi, I'm Nancy, and I am a citizen of Duluth, and I am also a teacher, my 20th year. And I want to thank you so much for supporting funding for the schools, the public schools. It has definitely been needed. I know that there has been talking about raising the standards for teachers, which is happening. I know that there's been a variety of different things and people's reasoning for why the education has been going, but the funding is definitely one. The other thing I really appreciate too is any time that you are supporting any sort of causes to help eliminate or minimize poverty, you are helping children develop and become better educated in the schools, because poverty is still one of the biggest indicators of educational growth. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And my first job out of college, I taught for 2 years in a public school in New York City, and I've always said it was the toughest job I ever had up until maybe this one. But I have a great respect. I've been in a couple hundred schools around the state in the last number of years, and a couple thousand classrooms, and teachers are so underappreciated. There's so much excellent teaching and excellent learning goes on. It's unnoticed, unappreciated, unrecognized, and so thank you for your dedication. And yes, the same thing as I said to the superintendent, we need teachers too to make people aware of teachers coming there bringing pencils and crayons in out of their own funds to provide what the schools are. I mean, that kind of thing just shouldn't be in Minnesota. So whatever we can do to help spread that word. But thank you for your dedication. Thank you.
Governor, back of the room I have Kathy from Duluth.
Governor Dayton, I want to thank you for being here today, and as a citizen, I feel so fortunate to have you as governor of Minnesota. I would like to, one population we haven't talked about is homeless youth. And I've worked with homeless youth for about 24 years through Lutheran Social Service here in Duluth. And as you know, they are being portrayed as being scary youth. They're not scary, they're scared. And there's 2,500 homeless youth across the state of Minnesota, approximately 150 homeless youth in Duluth. And I just want to thank you so much for adding dollars to your budget to help serve that vulnerable population. Thank you.
Thank you for your work. After my teaching in New York City, I was a street worker and a counselor for a runaway house in Boston. So I spent a lot of time with kids who were on the streets who had no homes or run away from their homes or were wards of the state, left in state institutions like. And I mean, I saw firsthand the incredible trauma that causes and the serious damage it does psychologically and physically to young people's lives. So thank you for your work. I wasn't aware that that there was funding before, federal funding that had stopped and it hadn't been picked up. So we picked up $5 million of the $8 million, and if you put all that to good use, we'll look to build on that in the future. Thank you.
Carolyn from Duluth.
I'm Carolyn Carver. I'm a professional musician and I'm also a teacher. So I've taught since 1967 in California, Oregon, and in Minnesota. And what really concerns me is all the cuts to the schools. There are fewer classes available, and then we're losing the arts. And the importance of music and the arts is so important for the development of kids and their intellectual development, and it's been proven over and over. And my best students were the best also in class. And I'd like to see just available and it even helps, especially when you're reaching in poverty, the kids in poverty. You give them the music and it makes such a difference in their lives. So this is what I favor losing because of all the cuts.
Oh, very well said. I mean, I couldn't agree with you more. I remember back when I was teaching in New York at junior high school, I was doing some reading, and as sociologist Edgar Friedenberg said, the purpose of adolescence should be not to find out how valuable you are, but rather how you're valuable. So not just by a standardized test, where do you fall and what grades you get in the basic courses. I mean, that's important, but really, where are your special talents in life? As an artist, as a musician, as a chess player, as variety, as an actor, and give people that sense of self-worth. And I love seeing the schools now go to the debate contests or the extemporaneous speaking, things that didn't exist when I was in school. And now those are widely recognized, and those students are recognized the same way the good athletes are, and they should be. They should be, honored and respected for their own achievements and courage to go forward. So I couldn't agree more. It's one of the great tragedies of both the reduction in funding and the standardized testing. So every teacher feels they don't teach the test. I mean, there's no standardized test for music. If it had been, I never would have passed fourth grade, but I mean, the things like that that get pushed to the side because everybody's afraid that they're not going to make acceptable progress. Quote unquote. Thank you.
Allie, I have Allie from Duluth over here.
Hello, Governor Dayton. Thank you for coming up here. I'm a student at College of St. Scholastica. I'm also the chairwoman of College Republicans. And I just had a quick question. According to the Duluth News Tribune, the gap to get to a balanced budget is about $627 million. But you're proposing between $1 to $2 billion in tax increases. Can you tell me why you can't just find simple cuts that can get us to a balanced budget versus raising taxes, which doesn't just affect the rich, it affects everyone?
Fair question. As I said in the beginning, we made, in 2011, the Republican leaders in the legislature and I made $2 billion of permanent cuts in health and human services.